Hello once again. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching me from. This is Adora's vlog. And if you're just joining us for the first time on this channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button so that whenever we come on, you can always be sure to get the notification. Thank you very much. And if you're an old subscriber, thanks very much for hanging on there and for tolerating me. Thank you very much. On today's edition of this program, I'll be talking about the life of a parent in UK. Now, I don't want to say abroad generally because I live in the UK. I don't live anywhere else. So I can't really say how it is out there in other countries. But I assume pretty much it's the same thing. I think it should be the same thing we are actually facing as parents outside of your original countries. But for the benefit of this video, I'll be talking about UK. So it's going to be life as a parent in the UK. Okay, stay with me. I'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. Okay, where do I even start from? Like, being a parent in UK is a very big it could be a very big challenge. It could be a very big challenge in many ways. Though it's interesting being a parent. I have nothing against being a parent generally. Like, it's a happy thing. It's good that you have your kids around. In fact, every woman I have come across have always told me that either they want a child desperately, or the ones that have children, they keep telling me, oh, they're very happy to have kids. We are all very happy to be mothers, but it still comes with its own challenges by the side. I'll just call it that sweet challenge by the side anyway. But we're still grateful to God for giving us kids. But in as much as we are very happy about that, I'm just going to be talking about, generally speaking, what it takes to be a parent abroad. How you survive, how you manage, how you cope with the kids, whether you are a single mother or you are living with your husband or your wife. I'm just going to talk about everything generally. You see, many years back when I used to come to the UK on holidays, I used to just come and visit and go back. I was still very much single. I didn't have a child, so I was just cruising, sleep or wake up anytime I like. I go out shopping, I come back, I spend as much as I like because it's just me. I can afford to spend all of my pounds in a particular day on a particular shopping trip. And then I'm not even bothered about what I'll eat when I get home or the next day. I don't even think about the next day. I just feel the next day will take care of itself, And then if I might spend all the money on shopping and I won't even have any money to take me back home. No transport money to take me back to home. But I don't mind because, just this carefree lifestyle, Sha. So I kept doing this thing because I was very much young. I had no responsibility. There's no child, But later on, when I moved to the UK and I started having kids, it was a different ball entirely. Like, it was a different issue entirely. When you're living abroad, if you're living with your husband or your wife, it's a bit much easier. It's a little bit easier because in a way you have an assistant, you have a help, you have a support in the home. When it comes to planning how your family is going to run, planning how the kids are going to be taken care of, it's a bit easier. Because for some time, at a point, I was a single mom. So I understand the challenges, the difference between kind of being a single mom and then having to live with a man or having to live with a woman. And I say kudos to all single women out there, to all single mothers out there. It's a it's not an easy journey. Like, it's not an easy ride, honestly. If I see single mothers who are slaying it out, who are going all the way to make sure their children have the best, to make sure they put their kids in order, their family together, I give them a very big kudos because it's not easy. It's not easy. So I am not the kind of person that pulls down single mothers. No, because I've been there before. I understand the challenges that's attached to it. So I'm not going to say, oh, it's good this woman is single or it's her fault she's single. I don't care the reasons that led to you being a single mother. But if you find yourself in that situation, to me, I say a big kudos because I know it's not an easy journey. And I know that a lot of single mothers are actually trying their very best to give their children the best. So, you know, when I was a single mom, it was not easy in the sense that, you know, there's some things you might want to do. You have to like consider, how am I going to do this when my kids, my child is there? You know, am I going to be able to leave my child and go and do this and all that? Like in the issue of employment, most especially in this country, it is not like Africa where you have children and then you're surrounded by family members, your aunties, your uncles, cousins, even your mom can be there coming to do Omugo 24 times in a year or 24 weeks in a year. But here it's not so easy, because if you live here and even if you call your mom or you send for your mom to come and do Omugo, there's a limit to which she can stay, especially if she doesn't have the right to reside in the country. So when her visit time is over, she will go back to her country, and then you will still be left to, you know, kind of patch things up, to take care of your kids and put everything in order and still carry your responsibilities as normal as you used to. So you see, when it comes to having kids abroad here, you are kind of limited in certain things. Like there's certain things you can't just do freely. Like in the issue of employment now, I have a lot of friends that they really want to work. They desperately want to work. You know, they want to go out there and get something doing with themselves. But because they have kids, it's not so easy like that. You know, you can't just leave your children and go out. Here, there's nothing like housemaid, or there's nothing like one auntie or uncle that is just going to leave what they are doing and come and live with you and be raising your children. It's not so easy like that. And then even if you decide you want to get a help, like a nanny or a child is babysitter or whatever, to live with you and take care of the kids, it costs a lot of money. Now you're going to kind of also ask yourself, do you have that amount of money to pay a child a nanny? How much are you earning from your monthly wages at work that you can afford to keep a nanny in the house to look after your children? And then when you subtract the money for the nanny, what is left for other bills, other wages, other, you know, things you need money for in the house? There's a lot of question that comes into this. So it's not all about you getting a nanny, you put a nanny in the house and the nanny is taking care of your children and you are paying. There's a lot of responsibility that comes to this, having kids in the UK. That's why in most cases you see a lot of families, a lot of women especially, decide not to work because they want to sit at home and take care of the children, which in its own way is a lot of work. Taking care of kids is not a joke. Taking care of kids is already a full-time work on its own. So sometimes when you see some women and they say they are not working, it's not like they don't really want to work or that they are lazy, but the children on its own is already a big task for them. So it's not going to be too possible for them to kind of leave the children and go and work, and there's no one to look after the kids at home. Now, if you live with your man or your woman, it's very important that you have this understanding between the two of you on how to run the home effectively. Like most families here, what they do is that they kind of share their work arrangements, you know, their work time, their shift patterns. You know, if the man is working in the night as a night shift staff, the woman could be working in the daytime. So when the woman goes to work in the daytime, the man is with the children. When she comes back from work, she takes over. The man goes to work. That's the only way you can actually balance things out in the family here. Because if you decide that, okay, mommy and daddy are going to work in the daytime, what happens to the kids? Or if you say they're going to work together at night, what happens to the kids? So you must always try to work around the kids. That is just how it is here. You know, like I said, it's not like in Nigeria where you just have somebody that just comes around you and you say, oh, please help me look after my kids. Let me rush to work and come back. It's a lot more difficult here. So in this case, it takes a lot of understanding. If you're with a couple, if you're a couple, it takes a lot of understanding to be able to come to that compromise. Sometimes I see when people say, oh, why don't you sit at home as a mother, let the man go and work? It's easier said than done. But when you have bills, wages waiting for you at the end of every month, you will now understand that it's not easy to leave all the responsibility for one person. It will be very unfair for any of the people involved in the relationship to leave all the work for one person. At least, even if the man is doing majority of the job, as a woman, you should be able to support That's why a woman is there as a support system. You should be able to contribute your own quota so that the family can move on smoothly. Because one of the reasons why a lot of families break up, a lot of relationships collapse, especially here in the UK, is because of issues like this. Disagreements on how to effectively run the home. Because the woman may be pointing her argument to one direction and the man is pointing his argument to another direction, and they're not able to come to a compromise. Maybe the woman is saying, oh no, I want to work Monday to Friday, and the man is saying, no, you can't work Monday to Friday because me too, I have to work Monday to Friday. You understand it? Or the man is saying, oh, I want to be working in the daytime. I want to be a daytime staff. And the woman is saying, but you can't be a daytime staff. I want to be a daytime staff. So I will have time for the kids. And then there's this argument. If you're not able to come to a compromise, if you're not able to come to an agreement on how to run the home, that is where the issue starts coming from. That's where this misunderstanding starts coming from. And before you know it, the relationship or the marriage is broken. So it's always good, if you're in a relationship, try as much as possible to plan out how you want it to be run. And then whenever you're making these plans, always put the plans around the kids first. Because if you make the plans without the children being around your center stage of your plan, the kids are going to get affected at the end of the day. I used to have a friend back then. She brought her mom all the way from Africa to the UK. And her mom stayed here for about 5 months. Now, while her mom was in the UK with her, she was very, very relaxed because, her mom was there. Her mom was actually living with her, taking care of the children. So my friend would go to work. In fact, she was practically working like 7 days of the week. She worked from Monday to Sunday. She was working. Sometimes she would just pick up shifts. Even when she has done her own shift, she just picks up shifts, just like over time, because she had someone looking after the kids. But when it was time for her mom to go, she started becoming worried because she knew she would not be able to work as much as she used to when her mom was there. Eventually, her mom left. And my friend became so depressed because she wasn't able to work as much as she wanted, and she was complaining that she wasn't making as much money as she wanted. And I said to her, what do you expect? Your mom cannot be here permanently because she has no means to live in the UK on a permanent basis. And in as much as you wanted her to be around, but she's not here, you just have to adjust. That is what it is about here. You just have to adjust. You have to live around your kids. Now, the most annoying part of this whole thing is that, it's not so common to see jobs that mothers can do within school hours. Like, it would have been very nice if there's lots of jobs that mothers can do, like when their kids are at school, they go to work at that time. Before their kids come back, they are back from work and they pick their kids. It would have been very nice if there's something more available like that. But it's not so common because most of the jobs you see around is either most of the jobs you see around is either morning to night, like 8 to 8, 12 hours a day, or 9 to 5. So it's when it comes to the aspect of taking care of kids, you have to put a lot of consideration into it. Because if you really want to work, like you're the kind of person that you don't just want to sit at home, you just want to do something about it, you really have to think about the kind of job you have to go for. Because if you decide that you want to leave your kids with a professional babysitter, then you know that all your wages for the month is actually going to go through the babysitter because they don't come cheap at all. So that's it about employment. Now, still talking about the life of a parent in the UK, this is a country that takes child abuse very seriously. When I mean very seriously, I mean very seriously. You have to be very careful with kids. It's not like in Africa where you can actually scold a child for being naughty. Here it's a lot more difficult because even when the child is being naughty, being silly, you it's like you're in a tight corner. You don't really know how to even caution the child. You're just you're just looking because it's difficult. You don't know exactly where to come in when it comes to controlling that child or when it comes to taming that behavior. Now, there are several ways you can actually punish your child and he or she will feel the effects without touching him, without touching the child. Like when I remember when I was much younger, when I was very little, I remember my mom has never really, I don't think I never remember any time my mom actually beat us, like, to touch us, to spank us, the kids. I don't think she has ever done that. I can't really remember any time. I don't think it has ever happened. But one thing she was very good at, if you do something very nasty, the way she will look at you, the way she will talk to you, there's a way she will talk to you. It will pierce your heart. She'll talk to you like, she will just call you and sit you down. She say, do you want to kill me? This thing you did, is it good? Or I remember those days when I was in school and I wasn't taking my education very seriously, like especially in JSS 1. JSS 1, I failed. And I was asked to repeat the class. And when I got back home, I remember very well, my mom was very bitter about it because at that time, life was not very easy. She had to struggle very, very well as a single mom to raise us, to train us in school. So for each time we have to go to school or we have to resume a particular year at school, it's a new school phase. And she had to struggle. She had to struggle financially to make sure that, her kids go to school. Her kids go to one of the best schools in the country, So imagine for someone who is struggling like that, hustling for you to make sure that her kids do not fall out, her kids remain there in a relevant position, and then you come back and you disappoint her with a bad result. What do you expect her to do? How do you expect her to feel? So whenever such things happen, she doesn't really even shout or whatever. She will just sit you down and ask you, do you want to kill me? The stress I'm going through, trying to put this together for you guys, trying to do this. Do you know how I suffer to get this money and all that? Please don't put me to shame. What people say and all that, blah, 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 blah. And by the time she's done talking, within you'll be broken already. You will just ask yourself, what have I done? Why did I let this woman down? So I kind of try to inculcate that skill. I will call it a skill because not everybody has that patience. Some others are, boo, 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 boo. What did you do? So I try to kind of calm myself down, even when my kids misbehave. Sometimes, if when that anger is trying to build up in me, I'll be holding it. I'll just be bearing it, and then sometimes I will just decide to leave the room. I'll leave them where they are, and then move to somewhere else just to get over it. And when I come back, I'll tell him, what you just did now, does it make sense? Will you do it again? And then I ask him, do you know what you just did? Because in as much as I know you are at fault or you know what you did, I still want to ask you because I want you to be sure that you know what you did and that you know that what you did was bad. That is why I'm angry. So in a way, you as a child, you should also understand that what you did was bad. I'm not just angry for nothing. I'm not a mad person. But you did something to provoke me, and that's why I am unhappy. So and then he will be like, yes, I know, mommy, yes, I know, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, blah, 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 blah. I've passed my message. I've made him understand that I'm very, very angry with you. In fact, I'm bitter. And that's why I'm making you understand how I feel. And then sometimes he will apologize and it goes. Kids now, they will surely do it again. So it all depends on how firm you are with them every time. And then sometimes when he even misbehaves or when they're trying to be funny or nasty or naughty, I say, okay, you know what? No TV for you today. And you know what? That TV is a very, very big weak point for kids. Especially if you have kids that love watching television. Oh my God, you've just gotten their remote. That is just one place you will press that will seriously pain them. So sometimes when he starts all that thing he's doing, I'll just say, oh yeah, go inside the room, put off the television and carry your book. That is it. You've gotten him. And then you will get him crying and shouting and begging, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I won't do it again. So, but I don't just give up immediately. I like to stretch it. I want to, that's TV, non-TV hours. I will stretch it for a long time just to make him feel that, listen, I'm not so easy to bend. So that when you misbehave next time, the TV will go off again. And then he knows that, because he doesn't want to stay away from TV for a long time, he will behave himself. It's with time you get used to this mode of disciplining the kids, because I've come to understand that even by beating, it doesn't really solve any problem. I remember back then when I was still in secondary school, I was in the boarding house. Sometimes you will see a teacher or you see some senior students beating a junior student. They will be flogging this child mercilessly and the child will not move. He won't even cry. Do you know why? Because she's already used to it. She has been flogged severally. The body is already, the body has adapted to all the beating and all the flogging and all that. There is nothing you will spank the child again that will make that child cry. The child is already used to it. It's the same thing when it comes to kids, when it comes to children, when it comes to you disciplining your children. A point will come when the child will no longer feel it. And so because if you're beating the child, you're actually beating the child because you want to pass a message that you're angry, you're mad, you did something wrong and all that, blah, blah, blah. But a point will come when the child will feel like your beating is not actually making sense again. It's not entering my body. It's not paining me. So you are wasting your time. I will do it again. He's saying all this within him. I will do it again. And then you discover that all your beating is just in vain because it has not actually taught that child anything. It hasn't actually made him change his mind from what he's doing. So I think you should know your child, because actually there is no format. There's no particular formula on how to raise a child. Every child is different. So every parent too is different. The way I might raise mine is different from the way you will raise yours. So I'm not going to just sit down here and say, oh, do it this way or do it that way. It depends on how well you know your child. What are those things you know that when you deprive him or her from me of it, is going to be able to touch something in the child's heart? What is that way you know that, okay, if I do this to this child, okay, maybe this child is the kind of child that likes to listen. When I talk to him, he finds it very easy to listen to me. Then you find your way and look for how to talk to the child. If it is the talking pattern you want to use with that child, to be able to correct him or her, you use it. If it is the child that you can deprive maybe once in a while, you say, okay, I take off the TV, I put off the TV, I take off your toys and all that. If that works for you and the child, fine, you use it. So these are different ways, different patterns of raising kids here and back in Africa. Because in Africa, what we are used to is flogging. You spank the child, and that is it, which is very, very different here. So that is another kind of culture shock some parents, some mothers experience when they come here. They're like, you don't beat the child? How can you? The child will be stubborn. How can you just talk to a child and the child will listen? And some parents will even say, oh, no, my child is not my friend. My child is my child. I don't have any business sitting down and talking to him or her. If she misbehaves, I will spank him and I will put some senses into him and all that. But it's not the same thing here. It's not really the same thing here, Another aspect is when it comes to the food the kids eat. I remember one time like that. I was talking to a friend of mine and she told me, why is it that a lot of kids here are very fussy when it comes to food? They don't, some kids, you see them, they say they don't eat this, they don't eat that, they don't eat that. But in Nigeria, every child eats everything. They will even be begging you for the one you have in your plate. Like every child, they don't reject anything, they eat any kind of food. And I was like, well, it all depends on what the child likes. Like, I remember back then when I was in Nigeria, I used to be very, very fussy when it comes to food. Like, there's certain things I don't eat. It wasn't even too long I started taking cornflakes. I think it was in my early 30s. I started having cornflakes. I never used to take cornflakes before because I felt so irritated. When you put the milk and the cornflakes become soft, immediately it becomes soft. That is it. I'm done. It's irritating to me. So even now, even while I'm taking it now, I try as much as possible to pour the milk and take the cornflakes immediately. I like to take it when it's still very crunchy, because once it becomes soft, it's kind of irritating. And then when I was much younger, I never used to eat onions. I don't like onions in my food. And then even up to now, I don't like onions in my food. When I was much younger, I never liked tomatoes, fresh tomatoes in the food. That I was able to overcome because now I eat tomatoes in my food. So there's so many things. It all depends on how we want to say it. And she was asking me, is it like is it the environment that makes the kids to kind of choose food and all that? And I said, no, I don't think the environment has anything to do with the children being fussy about food. It's just that it all depends on what they want, because she is having challenges right now. She just relocated to the UK with her children. Her children were born in Nigeria and they just moved over to the UK. So she saw another family and their kids eating, and they were kind of picking. I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And her children were eating everything. And she was like, what's this about the children born here, kind of being fussy, and her children were eating everything? And I was like, if I really didn't have an answer to that, because I said, it all depends on the kid. She said, no. Because in Nigeria, it's very difficult to see children who are very fussy. They eat anything they want to eat. And then I just said to her, I think it all boils down on how the child is. It depends on what the child wants. Even here, it's not every child that is fussy. You will still see some children that eat anything they want to eat. So, when you kind of raising kids, you have to be able to know exactly what is it your kids like and what is it they don't like. The fussy one, why is she being fussy? What is it about that food that she doesn't like? And then if there's an alternative, you just give it to her and move on. Like, you don't have to actually force the child to eat a particular thing, because she was telling me that if she has a child, even if the child was born here and it's being fussy, she has to force that child to eat it and get used to it. And I'm like, you don't really force the child. Let the child like the food naturally. If he or she likes the food naturally, she will always want to come back for more. You won't even be the one to kind of convince the child to eat. She will be the one asking, Mommy, can I have this? Can I have that? So it's all very, very kind of, confusing, because, like for the fussy aspect, I understand where she's coming from. It's kind of difficult when your children are fussy eaters, because sometimes you're just confused. You don't even know what to give them. You don't know what to do. You adults, you are eating, you're enjoying everything. Like me, sometimes my kids could be very fussy. And when it comes to food, I don't want to eat, I don't like that one. And I'm just sitting down there and I'm eating everything that is available. I feel so bad that I'm eating and I'm enjoying the food, and my kids are picking. And my kids, sometimes you give my son food to eat, and you will see him using his finger to pick out certain things from the food, like picking out the vegetables and all that. So it's just about studying the child, know what the child wants. If the child says he doesn't want a particular thing, if you try as much as possible to make him or to convince him to eat it, he doesn't, you leave him. You try something else. That's it. With time, I'm very sure the child will be able to come around. It's not so easy like that, because I remember when I was back then in Africa, sometimes even when your child does not want to eat, you just leave the child alone. Don't worry. Mommy will give you, or grandma will feed you, or auntie will feed you, or uncle will feed you, or this cousin will give you. But here, at a particular time, you've set aside already for breakfast, and here you have a child now that is saying, I don't want to eat. And you know that after that time, you have other things to do, because you don't actually have any extra hand, any extra person helping you. And the child is saying, I don't want to eat now, or I don't want to eat this. And you know that you don't actually have time for this food, session at that time again. What do? Are you going to carry the food along with you, and you're going out together? Or, it's also confusing sometimes and kind of stressful. So it all depends on, I think, knowing your way around the home, your family, your children, so that you'll be able to survive it. Because I've come across a lot of people that talk about being depressed when it comes to parenting here. And I understand where they're coming from. It's not really an easy ride when you don't have an assistant, when you don't have someone helping you. It's not so easy like that, because like some people will say, oh my God, I have a lot to do and I'm not able to cover it all because it's only me doing this. I have to wake up in the morning, give them breakfast, send them to school, go and bring them back. I have to do this one, I have to do that one, I have to go to the shop. It's kind of a lot sometimes for parents here. Be you a single mom, a single dad, or even when you're living together, it is still difficult. You're living together, it's still a bit difficult. Not to talk of when you are living as a single mother or a single father. So my advice is that if you are in a relationship, be you a man or a woman, and you have kids, I think you should be grateful to yourselves. You should appreciate each other, because in one way or the other, you have yourselves as your pillars to yourselves, your kind of pillar of support to yourself. You have each other to lean on, in case of any difficulty and challenges. That's why I give a lot of kudos to single moms, single dads, because it's not an easy ride. If you're single without children, that's it. You can fly as much as you want, but once the children are involved, there's so many, I wouldn't want to use the word challenges, because children are a gift from God. But there's so many rules you must break. Your 24-hour sleeping is not going to be possible again. You sleeping and waking up at 12 o'clock or whenever you like, that late, it's going to change. There's so many things involved. You just have to be able to bend the usual way of living, so to accommodate the kids, because they are actually the ones in vogue right now. So that's one of the challenges of being a parent in the UK. And then, like I said, when you're living back in Africa, you even have your pleasure time. There are times you just want to go out, leave the kids with grandma, leave the kids with auntie and uncle. You just want to hang around with the girls. But it's not so easy here, because it's not easy here, because number one, where will you leave the children and you are going to hang around or hang out with your friends? And it's not easy. In fact, being a parent abroad this is where the real work is. Being a parent, this is where the real definition of being a parent is. The real work, the real stress, this is where it is. Where you have no support, where you have nobody to fall back on. It's just you. It's just you. Another part where is a bit more sensitive and a bit more risky, and is actually an issue where I get more cautious about, is when you're living with the kids and there's nobody living around you, or there's no known person whom anybody can easily contact if something wrong happens to you as the parents. It's very, very risky. It's very risky. I remember back then when I was still living alone, sometimes I used to be very scared, and I say, what if something happens to me now? Who knows where I am? Who knows what's happening around me? I don't have any aunties or uncles. There's no family member around me. What's going to happen to the child and all that? So it's one of the challenges. It's not like when you're in Nigeria, definitely maybe your neighbors can come. You know how it is here now. Nobody really has time for anybody. You can even stay here 6 months. You and your neighbor have not seen eye to eye. You've not seen each other. You've not greeted. You've not knocked on the doors to say hello. But in Africa, you have people that will come up to your door, knock and say, hello, are you okay? They will ask after you and all that. If your neighbors don't even see you for a day or two, they begin to get worried and they come and knock on the door and ask after. But here, it's not like that. So sometimes the fear there is that, what if something happens to you and nobody even knows you are in the house? Maybe perhaps, God forbid, something evil has happened and the person dies there, or you slump and something, So it's one of the challenges we face as parents here, but we're just trying to, in as much as possible, make sure that such things do not happen. That's why I said, if you are living with somebody, your partner, be it your husband, your partner or boyfriend or whatever, you should appreciate yourselves. Appreciate yourselves in the sense that you are not doing it because you are doing the person a favor, or the person is not doing it because he's doing you a favor, but you are helping yourselves. You're keeping yourselves alive. That's just the word I would use. You're keeping yourselves alive, because this is a place, it's a kind of a lonely world. It's just you. It's just you. There's nobody around you. But if you are very blessed, if you are the kind of person that has family, you actually come into the country, you have one auntie and uncle and people, neighbor, relations around. But I want to remind you, no matter how many relations you have here, not everybody's going to have time to be checking on you 24 hours, because they have bills to pay. They have rent and everything lying on their door. They have to work. So not everybody has the time to leave their job and come and be checking on you to make sure you are okay. So you just have to be able to measure things and know exactly how to cope and manage your life as a parent. So that's it for today, guys. I hope to see you again some other time. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you can know exactly when more videos roll out. Thank you very much.